What's up, everybody? It is I, RageCage20. Thought I'd do something a little weird and different today. So I know this video is old as fuck. How old is it? 3 years old. Over 3 years old. But I've watched it a few times before, and I've always thought about sharing information on it. I don't know if anyone's ever done this or not. But I'm watching the Markiplier Makes Pretzels. I haven't watched this in several months. Several months. So hopefully there'll be things fresh for me again. But I just thought it'd be fun to go through as someone who has made pretzels. I've been making pretzels as a side job for 4 years, I think now. I've made tens of thousands of pretzels. And yeah. Every time I've watched this in the past, it's just like, yeah, you don't do that. there's no need for that. And I just thought maybe it'd be interesting to go through it. Just focus on the pretzel parts, cut out all the other bits if you want to watch the whole thing. It's obviously on Mark's channel. Go check it out. But I'll probably edit out most of the bits that aren't pertaining to pretzels. And I thought this might be entertaining, so we'll find out together. All right, so let's get into it. Markiplier Makes Pretzels. Let's see how... I know it's a catastrophe in certain places, and I'm excited to explain why.
I'm going to prove how good I am.
I'm going to prove that math is a science.
Is it? The oven's preheated, the water's boiling, so we have all the ingredients that you need to make a pretzel. We've got flour, we've got confectionery sugar, we've got non-brand oil, we've got store-brand butter, we've got store-brand butter, gold medal flour. So we combine these ingredients with yeast, and then you fold it into a pretzel shape.
I mean, right so far, the one thing that will become a reoccurring theme that I can never forget in this video is just the lucrative amount of oil that is used in every step of the process. That'll come up later. But so far, yes, you do not need butter until after, and I think they're going to put butter in during, but we'll talk about that when we get there.
Yeah? If you guys know...
Washing my hands, as all good chefs do.
Alright, so there are a few complicated steps, but as is usual with Markiplier Makes, we do not have a recipe. We never have had a recipe. We don't need a recipe because we are cooking innovators, not masters.
One thing that, and I've never really paid attention to this before, but one thing that Ethan's actually doing correctly here is he's putting in the yeast first. I actually never paid attention to that. Now, a lot of companies will disagree, and this is one of the main reasons why I'm not saying which company and or companies I have worked for in crafting pretzels. But I'm sure many of them go by around roughly the same spiel, because like it's pretzels, it's pretty simple, it's pretty the same thing. Just about every single one of them will tell you that you put the water first and then the yeast. Yes, sure, good. If anyone asks if you do that, you say yes. If anyone asks for the order, yes. We don't do that because it really doesn't matter the order of it, and if you put yeast first and then put the water will mix up the yeast instead of just sprinkling yeast on top of water and just letting it sit there in a big ball. I think it's better to put the yeast first personally, but any company will tell you no, you do the water first. That's important to know. But actually them adding the yeast as the first ingredient without a recipe, it's pretty hard to make this without a recipe. But I don't know how much sugar and salt goes into it, and sugar is pretty important for the flavor, obviously, because everything tastes better with sugar and salt. It's a big one, but sugar is important because sugar activates the yeast. It makes it start to eat away the sugar so that it can release the gases to fluff it up. So sugar is very important in the process. I just don't know how much of it to put in there.
Don't start. Oh my God.
That you were starting.
All right, whatever, we're starting. Okay. All right, so it's flour, water, salt, butter, oil, and a little bit of sugar, and the most important ingredient is yeast, which I don't think you add first.
You do.
I think you do, because you have to let the yeast rise, right?
No. The yeast is just going to do that on its own when introduced to the water, the heat, the sugar, like that. It's just going to do that on its own. But yeah, anyways.
That's how that works.
Yeah. Are you done?
Yeah.
Measuring is for pussies. I am a penis.
Have either of you ever made pretzels before?
No, I've seen it though.
Not have any
Stop. I provided you everything that you needed. Why do you need?
mix with.
You got your hands. It's fucking skews.
Well, you said I have hands.
So I think they put it in already. It looks like they put it in already. I saw them messing with the butter, and then obviously the butter's open and whatnot. One thing that they will do constantly throughout this video that we will bring up multiple times is they will treat pretzel dough like it is a pastry, like it is a cake, like it is a pie. And that might be a common misconception. I do not know. I never really thought about pretzels until I started making pretzels, and now obviously I know how to make pretzels. So I don't know that in between step of what people who want to make pretzels think happens with pretzels. But you don't put butter in it. It's not a pie. It's not a cake. Like you don't add. A lot of people think you add eggs. There's no eggs in the process of making pretzel dough. It is not a cake. You don't put butter and eggs and stuff and mix that all together. Like no, it is. You also don't put oil in. That will come up many times throughout here. The only time butter is used is after the pretzel is out. You just brush it on top or dip it in butter. Butter's not inside the dough whatsoever. The only time you use oil, and you don't use liquid oil, you use spray oil. It'd be a million times easier to use spray oil than liquid oil. The only time you ever use oil is inside the dough bowl itself, so that you can take it out easily, so it doesn't stick, and on the surface to which you're gonna put it on and start cutting your dough, so it doesn't stick. Besides that, there is no oil in the process whatsoever. The amount of oil that they are going to pour on these poor fucking pretzels is ridiculous. But yes, butter does not go in early. You do need, you don't need like boiling hot water to mix in with it. It doesn't hurt. But at least it just needs to be warm water. I'm at least pretty sure. It needs to be at least over 100 degrees. That much I know. So I don't think it has to be boiling hot, but like that doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt anything, so it's whatever. And in their sake, it will probably help them melt the butter a little bit easier since they are not using blenders or any kind of utensils to try to beat it and create heat to melt that butter. It will probably help melt the butter for them because they've put butter in their pretzel dough for reasons.
I have all the tools required.
What are you mixing with?
Scissors. If it's not mixing well enough, you just cut it up.
You right. It's really hot.
Use boiling water.
Where are the scissors? Oh wait, Ethan's mixing with them.
I'm so
How do
hot.
I open this without
Well, your hands, silly.
Ethan, can you just give me a snip?
Oh, of course. There may be a little bit of stuff on there.
Didn't snip deep enough.
Oh, just
That's
there
fine.
we go. Mine's not looking too bad.
I don't know what it's supposed to look like, but mine's looking better than Ethan's.
Just standard dough, like bread dough. It's dough.
Excuse me?
So just a glob of dough is what it should look like.
Let me show you something my grandpappy taught me. Ha! Joke's on you. Never met my grandpa.
Now, I've got a nice fine dough.
Audio on this.
It's a little sloppy, but here's something that others don't know.
That you're here.
over there whispering. Thinks he knows something that we don't.
I bet he knows a lot of things that we.
So, Ethan is correct there. The way they go about it is bizarre. But we'll get to that when we get there. But I mean, he is correct. You do need the dough proof. Another thing that will become a theme throughout here. Again, as I mentioned, that for some reason they have it in the mind, maybe because they made pies, maybe within the same day. I don't remember. But they treat it like a pie crust quite often. What Mark is doing with it right now is completely unnecessary. You don't need to roll it together. You don't need to touch it. You don't need to do anything with it. In fact, the more that you mess with it, the tougher the dough is going to get. Once it proofs, it will loosen itself back up, but you don't need to touch and mess with the dough at all. You don't need to roll the dough. You don't need to mess with it at all, because all that's going to do is toughen up the dough and make it harder to roll into a pretzel. You just you mix it until it becomes a dough, and then you put it by the side. You add it to heat, but we'll get to that later. And you let it rise. You don't start messing with it until it is fully risen. So what Mark's doing is completely unnecessary. And Ethan, second time in this video, is actually doing some stuff really correctly, which is surprising if you know who Ethan is. He's usually the just pure chaos flying by the seat of his pants, but he's actually getting this really right so far. I'm actually pretty impressed with that.
You don't.
I mean, that's
Every person has individual subsets of knowledge.
Well, I was talking more in regards to baking and pretzels and dough.
I mean, I know nothing. If he even knows, like, how they look, he probably knows more than I do.
I at least have an idea.
Again, it's very much like a pastry right now. He's putting dough out on the counter and rolling it into the dough, and all that is completely unnecessary with pretzel dough. I mean, it's not technically gonna hurt anything, but there's absolutely no reason for what he's doing.
Yeah, how they flow.
Oh, just because you were brought up rich enough to afford pretzels.
Whoa.
Unlike me, I had to put dirt into the form of a pretzel. I was just guessing at it, and it was delicious. More flour.
No.
Too much flour.
Again, you do not need to roll it around and flour it. It is not a pastry. And that's so much fucking flour. You're just coating the outside of this with flour before it rises. I don't know why.
Oh, thanks. I actually needed that. That's plenty though.
Okay, cool. Did I wash my hands before I started this?
Every good cook washes his hands. I told you that in the beginning.
Wash,
Listen.
not watch.
I mean,
So what Ethan is doing here, obviously they're having a fun back and forth here. What he is doing here is also not as correct and incorrect at the same time. I don't know if this. I've never tried it. I've never seen it done, so I don't know if this does anything good or bad. You should cover the dough with, whatever you have to cover it, baking sheet, saran wrap, whatever. You can't really cover it because it will keep air from getting to it so it doesn't dry out. Also, keep any kind of outside debris, insects, etc. from getting into it, which you don't want. Keeping outside particles out of your dough, which is good. I'm sure it also helps trap in heat in some way, shape, or form. I don't know if you need to cover the entire thing and keep all oxygen out. I'm not sure if that does anything good or bad, so you don't really need to cover the top. You just wrap it around the dough itself, but technically a correct step of the process, so more power, more credit to you.
you can wash your hands. Why are you still over there?
Why are you over minding your business, bitch?
I think that helps. I've seen people do that. It really gets the yeast going. They really like it.
They like this.
No. Kind of, but that's kind of in the mixing process. But yeah, I will definitely cut a dough and I'll flip it. but what that's supposed to do is to stretch out the dough piece without having to roll it. It helps stretch it evenly, not before the rolling process, not during the proofing process. Do you need to start flipping things around?
Smack.
Yeah, they're kinky little fuckers like that. Oh, yeah, what's my name?
I'm gonna put it in the fridge for a minute. I'm gonna put it in the fridge and try and help it rise up a little bit. I don't know if that helps at all, but I'm putting it there anyway.
Let's go.
Yeah, it's something that they start doing. I think they all do this. I'm not 100% positive if all of them do or not. I know one of them did, and it was Ethan. Yeah, no. So there's kind of 3 different things you can do to affect the process of proofing, which is, just a fancy name. I don't know why. It sounds like they're trying to prove like evidence in a case or something. I don't know who chose the word proof to mean dough rising. I don't know if fuck that name came from, but there's kind of 3 things you can really do to affect the process to which a dough will rise. You could just leave it out, and a dough will take approximately an hour, give or take, maybe 10-15 minutes to rise. You could just leave it out wherever. You can add it to heat, which will make it rise faster. It will cut a good amount of time off of it. However, you should take the dough off the oven or any heat source that you add it to. Not too hot, because the hotter it is, the faster it's going to start cooking the dough, and you're going to just get cook marks and actually dough cooked and baked at the bottom of your dough, which you do not want. It's not fun to roll with. It just leaves little crumb it's not good. So not too hot, but adding to a heat source of some kind will help the dough rise faster. But you only want to leave it on for like 15-20ish minutes, because if you leave it on too long, it's gonna start to cook your dough, and you don't want that. Or it'll make it rise too fast, and it'll be very runny and gooey and just a nightmare to fucking work with. So you want to add it to heat to make it rise faster. You can proof dough in a refrigerator. It will slow down the process to which a dough will rise, which could be exactly the desired result, because I think it's supposed to make it rise more evenly. But like, it's kind of like when you make beans, when you just like put beans in water and leave it there like overnight. They're trying to do a show where they want to have this dough ready to go as fast as they can, and they're putting it in the refrigerator, which is going to make it take a long time. I'm not sure how long, never done it myself personally, but I'm pretty sure that's kind of like overnight stuff, which I feel like Mark should have clicked and known that, because he's even told stories about how his dad would make like pancake batter and stuff and leave it in the fridge overnight so it'll be ready in the morning. I feel like he should know this, but yeah. If you're just trying to get your dough to rise at a normal rate, don't put it in the fridge. That's gonna make it go way slower. Which, since they're probably gonna take it out earlier than normal, probably gonna result in under risen dough. But we'll find out. I don't remember. We'll find out when we get there.
How's your dough
My
coming?
view has been blocked.
Were you laughing at me?
Nothing.
I'm really doing this, and you're over there laughing.
I mean, I'd be laughing too. I don't know if Ethan knows. Like, he thinks he knows that, like, what I assume what Mark is doing is unnecessary, and he is completely right. There's absolutely no reason to be doing this. Ethan so far has actually done the correct steps. Just mix it and set it aside to proof. He just unfortunately put it in the fridge, which will still work, but at a much slower rate. So Ethan so far has actually been the only one who's been doing this step by step very correctly. I don't know his measurements, but besides the butter and potentially measurements being incorrect, I don't know. I don't know how much they put in. And I think they're just guessing along the way, which I would do if I didn't have a recipe in front of me as well. He's been actually been doing this completely correct. Tyler's just kind of somewhere in the middle. His dough is just so runny and kind of a mess that I haven't even been paying attention to him, if I'm being completely honest with you. Mark has some good looking dough. He's just rolling it for whatever reason. I do not know why.
Doing it.
What are you doing?
I'm being patient. It's not all about hard work sometimes. Sometimes you just gotta know when to cool the jets a little bit.
I'll cool your jets.
Can you pass me that oil?
Don't do
or
it.
anything?
It's a trick.
Actually,
Put out
don't
your
do it.
hand. Put out your hand.
There's no reason to.
All right.
Yeah, there's absolutely no reason to put oil in your dough, in your dough, on your dough. You're just adding oil taste to your dough. Like, that literally doesn't do anything. Like, it's just that's kind of gross to me, but it's whatever.
God damn you, both of you! No, you can't just say things are okay and then they're okay.
That's how it works. That's how you avoid problems.
No!
You just say, hey, it's all right, then you go on your day.
No!
I didn't pay taxes in 2016. That's all right.
Oh yeah. Get up there, man. Fuck yeah. Oh yeah. Hey. You close? You close? You close? Yeah. All right, I think it's good.
I think you need some time alone. Is that what you're doing? Back off. Ask yourself.
Are you close? Are you close? Are you close?
See, it's conflicting because you have to let the yeast rise, but we really don't have enough time to let the yeast rise properly. Huh? We don't have enough time, and that's the sad thing.
I mean, yeah. If you're working with limited time, like if you need the dough to rise really fast, which will happen sometimes on the job, if it's like you didn't manage your doughs properly and you're gonna run out and you know you're gonna run out, so you can try to decrease the time in which the dough will take to rise by cooking it faster. Again, that's a dangerous game you're playing, and I would not recommend that unless you know what you're doing. If you've been doing it for a long time, you can easily probably take off a good 15 to 20 minutes in the proofing process by adding it to heat and keeping it on heat. The fridge is actually decreasing, is greatly increasing the time it's going to take them, as I mentioned before. And so him already saying that we don't got a lot of time, and him putting it in the fridge is not doing him any favors. He needs heat right now.
All right, so what they don't know is probably the proving step. That's going to be the one item that they really fail on. I know how to prove things, but what I don't know is how long to prove things. Also, proving
Of adding to heat like 15-20 minutes.
is when you wait.
15 to 20 minutes, take off of heat, and then until it's fully risen, which should usually take another 30 to 45 minutes.
Saran wrap.
Find it.
Also, is there saran wrap?
And I'm sorry, what? Did he take his dough out of the fridge, stop the proofing process, and then start rolling dough on it? Okay, Ethan was doing great up until this point. And now it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Leave it alone. It's doing its job.
Left of the fridge.
No, don't give him help.
Also, don't put it in the fridge.
No.
Yes.
No.
So this is a process that there's a huge fucking science when it comes to the rising of dough. Like there's people that will take classes purely on just how the science and how it works. It's crazy reactions, because if you don't know, yeast is actually much like yogurt. It is kind of it's a microscopic bacteria. It is a living culture, and it eats away at the sugar and stuff inside the dough, and it releases a gas from this digestive process that then expands the dough. It creates all that flavor that comes off of it. So there is processes which people will make their dough. At least I've heard of. I've never actually seen it myself, but I've heard of process where people actually make their dough, let it rise, and then start fucking with it again, and then let it rise again. There's some kind of science along with that. They'll do it multiple times, but I don't think Ethan is intentionally doing that. And with them already saying we don't have the time, you've just almost completely started over your proofing process by fucking with the dough. Not completely, but like you've definitely affected it, and it's just like I do not know why you took the dough out and started playing with it.
Why? Why would you do that?
Because I know how to prove.
You don't know how to prove.
I know how to prove.
Prove
How do you
it.
prove? How do you do it?
You let it sit in the fridge for a little bit.
No.
Yeah, you.
2 to
One
3
step
hours.
ahead.
Yeah, you know.
One step ahead of the game.
And then like 3 steps backwards by what you're doing right now.
Definitely
I've
know.
already proved everything.
No, you have not.
Man, that's some nice looking dough, buddy. Wait.
You don't.
Wait.
You don't need to put flour on it. There's already flour in it, man. It's not a pastry. You don't need to put flour on it. It's not a pie, man.
We're missing an ingredient.
Eggs.
Egg.
Contrary to popular belief, there is no eggs in any process of pretzel dough whatsoever. It doesn't go on the inside. It doesn't go on the outside. There's no egg whatsoever. Now, at the end here, I believe they egg wash it. I don't know. It doesn't do anything bad to the dough, but like maybe it gives it kind of a nice sheen on it, but like maybe affects kind of the maybe not necessarily the texture, but kind of maybe the darkening and or crust of the once it's baked. But like you don't need to egg wash a dough. You don't need eggs in any step of any process of dough ever. So no, you good, man. Keep the eggs away.
Egg. Egg. Egg.
Do we have it?
Egg. Don't touch my egg. Don't touch my egg. Don't touch my egg. Are you using this?
Oh,
Okay, good.
that doesn't mean that you can use it. It's my property. Don't give him.
I like how they're all trying to warn him, like, you don't need egg. You don't need egg.
How many eggs, guys? You think Jordan B. Pretzels would use an egg? You. Dishonorable. No. Not that
Not
way.
yet. Not yet.
I mean, not ever, technically, but.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Gosh, give me salmonella.
No such thing.
It doesn't exist.
You might be right. I've never seen it.
You see, what I think they were actually all lacking was sugar. I didn't see them use any sugar whatsoever within their
I mean, you do need sugar, but they use sugar.
recipe.
I use sugar.
And anyway, I think they forgot the sugar in their wine. I think I've got them beat. My dough looks fabulous. It's in the fridge. It's proving. It's gonna prove itself worthy of being
Yeah, it's such a weird fucking name, man. Who came up with that?
eaten by the most critical critiques of the pretzel, which is not Ethan's inventor of the pretzel.
I use sugar. Did you use sugar?
Yes.
I use sugar. Yeah. So we've proved, for an indeterminate amount of time, we've decided that it's proved. So we're gonna pull them out of their proving locations.
Yeah.
In the middle of us not recording, Tyler had a epiphany. I'll let it.
I didn't know what proving was, so.
You said, I know what proving is. And I was like, oh yeah, tell me, in the fridge. And I was like,
Listen, we did that for the pizza dough.
right. So the general gist is that it should double in size. Has yours doubled?
Actually, mine's pretty close to double.
Okay, those are all. I mean, his hasn't even begun the process because he reset it. That is an under-risen dough. At least from what I can see right here, that is a pretty under-risen dough. But we'll see when he takes it out.
I don't think so.
I think so.
Now,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's an under-risen dough for sure. It is not actually fluffed and ballooned in any way, shape, or form. It is still pretty fucking flat. That is, yeah. That ain't good. I mean, it will still work technically, but you're gonna. Yeah, that explains why he says later that tasted just kind of like bread. Yeah, okay. Well, that and all the other shit they do to it.
oh yeah, that's doubled in size.
Oh.
Here, move the bowls out of the way.
The fuck you say to me, you little shit?
Amy's gonna.
Yeah, no. That's, yeah, they those are not risen. They are not risen at all. That would lead at least another 45 to 60 minutes on all of them. But and the mistake that they're making at this point is they're now touching it. They're now touching the dough after they have proved it. Like, you're going to have to touch it in some way, shape, or form to roll it into a pretzel, but like the more you touch and mess with dough, the firmer it's going to get, the harder it's going to be to work with you. You just want to set it down and then use it. You don't want to roll it. You don't want to do anything, any unnecessary touching and spreading and anything to it, because all you're doing is just making the dough firmer and harder to work with, and that's just really not what you want.
Come across that shape. The look on your face just.
So we need an oiled surface, not a floured. Do what you want.
I mean, yeah, it helps the pretzel from sticking, or the dough from sticking to the counter, but like, not wet oil, and not flour. Mike was right about that. Not flour. You don't need to pour wet oil on there and just let it sit on wet oil. Like, you want spray oil. You know, like Pam, just spray vegetable oil. Anything that's not wet oil.
No, oils.
Want some?
Yeah, just a little.
I mean, oh, and he's mopping it up. That's gross. I don't know if you've tried eating anything that just has raw oil poured on it. It don't taste good. Like, luckily they'll be able to bake a bit of it away and whatnot, and they water wash it, which we'll get to that. So that will help a little bit, but like, ew, that's ew. Just think of smearing just oil across the fucking counter and just putting a pretzel on it. It's grody, man. There it goes.
Good.
You want more? Yeah, you want more, don't you? Yeah, you do. Anyway, so we roll them out, and then we shape the pretzels. See, mine doubled in size.
No. No, you don't. You cut it, and then you roll it. But you do not roll the whole dough out at all.
Thinking of like someone seeing your dick for the first time, and you're just like, look at this, it's really good.
So, besides the genitalia talk, the rolling actually not too bad. Now, I mean, first off, you kind of want to cut the dough in the first place, not just pull out a glob and then start working with it. But I mean, to each their own. Generally, when you make a cut, you kind of want to pull, not really roll, because again, the more you roll, the more you fuck with the dough, the thicker and the more firmer it's going to get, the more unmanageable it's going to become, the harder it is going to be to turn it into a pretzel shape. So you really don't want to really roll it as much as you possibly can. You kind of just want to cut it and then just pull and go. So generally you don't really want to roll it as much as possible. However, their rolling technique is actually pretty good. Pretty good. Especially Mark's there. He's kind of rolling it from the middle, rolling it out. Exactly what you want to do there. So he's actually getting his to a pretty good length there. The size of pretzel is gonna vary between people's wingspans. Like, it would be the same. You want to use the same amount of dough from person to person, but what that's going to be look like when you hold out the dough is going to be different from person to person based on your wingspan. Like, someone's if they're like really small, might be like out to here, but you can't see it. Like out to here, someone who's not as who maybe has a bigger wingspan might like feel like it's like out to here for them. It's gonna vary depending on your wingspan, how big you are and whatnot, but the size will always roughly be the same.
Look at the size of it. It's got a nice curve. Are we supposed to make multiple pretzels?
Yeah.
Oh, I hate that. Not what was being said, not what's really being done. It's just I can tell, especially if that's the same strip of dough, you can see that it's actually smaller now. It looks like it's smaller. He's messing with it so much. It's constricting. It's getting thicker and just. It's not stretching as much as it should, and so he's actually losing. It's not as elastic. It's starting to kind of firm back up. He's actually losing length on it because he's fucking with it so much. And that Tyler has is way too fucking thick. Like, that's gonna be a giant fucking pretzel if he doesn't cut some of it off or really get it rolled out. Which in case he's gonna have to cut some of it off because it's gonna roll out way too much.
2.
That's so tiny. That is is a tiny fucking pretzel right there. It should at least be almost. Let's see, I would say at least 75 to 100% bigger and longer than what he has right now. It's so small. Even if he does make a pretzel, it's gonna be like this big. He's gonna be tiny. Yeah, there's no way you're going to get a good flip on it. You're going to have to manually do it. Yeah, it's too small, buddy. Yeah, it's better. Still needs to be a little bit longer, but that's better. That is definitely better.
I got a thick boy.
So let me actually look at the flipping and turning a pretzel from dough into a pretzel is so hard to teach people. Because I didn't understand it when my boss was first telling me about it, and first trying to teach me, my boss, who's also my roommate, which I was thinking of bringing him in here at one point, maybe showing him this, to get his take, because he's never seen it before. That'd be interesting. And he's been doing it for like 14, 15 years. He's probably made hundreds of thousands of pretzels, so he would have a very interesting take on this. Shit, who knows? He might even be in the million by now. Fuck. Yeah, I know. When he was first trying to teach me, this is like, I don't know how to slow it down. I don't know really how to describe it. And at first I understood what I was doing, but as I've made more and more and more pretzels, it's just muscle memory. It just happens. My brain tells my hand to do a thing. It does it, and all of a sudden I have a pretzel. But trying to tell someone else, like, you just do this. It's just like, and see them do it, it's just like, how do you explain this? It's very hard. The best thing I can do is obviously you hold it at the two ends and you want a U shape, and yeah, obviously it's going to do that when you just have a line and you hold it, it's going to make a U, obviously. And what you want to do is you want to spin it so that they cross each other, if I can get a good cross each other, and you want one cross section and then put it down. Now, at the same time that you're getting it to spin and connect, and just to loop one time. You want to give it a bit of a flick, not go crazy so it's like and flying around or anything, but you want to give it a bit of a flick to it so that the U shape, instead of being straight down, kind of comes at this angle a little bit. It will come out and then it'll come back around to where it's facing you. So once it loops once and is spun all the way around, is facing you, that's when you want to bring it down. So you spin and bring it down so that it is facing you. You have the spin. You're holding the toes, as we call them. It's toes. Yeah, toes of the pretzel, which is the two little ends that connect to the U-shaped part. Not the top part that breaks off, not the spin, but the part after that. The two little toes that attach to the bottom U-shaped part of the pretzel. Which is what you're holding when you start. Once it comes all the way around, you put it down so that you can put those down, push the middle so that it stays connected, and you have a pretzel. It's so easy to say, ish. It's so incredibly hard to do. Like, a lot of different pretzel companies will say that, like, that's we don't even let them do anything else until they learn how to make a pretzel. We don't do that at our store because it's like we have people who've been rolling for a while. We have people who know how to roll. We don't need you to know how to roll because when shit gets crazy, you ain't gonna be rolling. Like, you're gonna be doing everything else. Like, so we don't really teach people how to roll pretzel, and it's also it's like super hard to learn. But it's like it's so incredibly easy to do, but it's so hard to get right. But once you get the shape down and you can make a pretzel, that's the easy part. Once you learn it, it's super easy. But, like, that's the easy part. Cutting the right amount of dough, that's the hell part. That's the part that you just have to do again and again and again and again until you can just see it. Like, you can just know exactly how much dough. Like, I don't even think about it anymore. I just know how much dough to make for each type of pretzel. How much dough to cut. It's crazy. It's just in my head. But the biggest thing that almost every single person will do, the first time they make a pretzel, is to make it upside down. To where the U will spin, but instead of coming back towards you, they drop it when it's out this direction. So they put it down, and then all of a sudden you have the toes, you just put it forward and try to push it like that. Almost everyone does it. I did it my first time, multiple first times. Almost every single fucking person makes a pretzel upside down. And if you're not trying to make them for speed, that's fine. Like, if you're just making it at home, like, that works. It works just fine. And I think that's what Mark does here the first time. Not 100% positive, but let's watch here. I think he, like, nailed it the second time, but we'll check that out here as we go along.
I got a thick boy.
Yeah, it looked like he made it upside down there. I think. I can't slow it down, but yeah, the fucking.
I've got a pretzel.
Here we go. I was watching here. No, he's got right side. Doesn't look like. Yeah, he has to fix it because it's not completely spun out. But yeah, that's about right. Let me get myself out of here. Let's slow this bitch down. Yeah, every time. I always go back too far. Okay, let's slow this down here. I had to do this the first time too. Let's get real slow up in this bitch. Let's see here. Good flip. One rotation, and yep. It doesn't look like it's twisted. And again, I think it's because it's so small. But that is the right idea. The pretzel is now facing him. That U shape is facing him, and he's bringing it down. It doesn't look like it's twisted, though, which is the part that's interesting. And that's why I think he had to kind of rearrange it after it came down. But the camera didn't show that part. Okay, give me one more time here. Let me get it one more time. Yeah, the twist came undone. Yeah, he had to twist it himself. It looks like he might have done one twist too many. But it looks like, yeah, it looks like the twist did not fully take. And he had to do it himself. And he might have twisted one too many times. But it was almost perfect the first time there. That's actually pretty good for Mark. I think he nails it the second time. He just did it by hand. This just, like, I see this in, like, you know, like pretzels that you get out of a box and you put in a oven or microwave or whatever. The toes hanging out over the pretzel, it bothers my eyes. These should be touching this part of the pretzel. They should never be outside of the pretzel. It looks silly. It's not technically wrong. It hurts my eyes.
I've got a pretzel. I did it.
With one?
I fucking did
I mean, it's tiny, but they do have pretzels.
it. Oh my god. I got a pretzel. Oh my god. Oh my god.
I'm glad he's so happy.
Oh no.
Hey.
I'll never be able to recreate
He's ready to spin one too many times there.
the magic. I recreated
But he did shape it into it after it happened.
the
Yeah.
magic. We'll make 3 pretzels, each one incrementally bigger. All right, mine are ready to go in. Okay, so the important.
Yeah, no, he actually did really good this first time. Second time, not so much. But let me see that again.
Oh my god! Oh no. I'll never be able to recreate the magic. I recreate.
I mean, yeah, it was rough for everybody. He just spun it one too many times and then had to kind of manually do it. But, like, you know, that's going to happen your first couple times. You might just have to stretch it up. Like, okay, there we go. That's right. Yeah, not bad. Those are just tiny pretzels. Those are really, really small pretzels. But uniform in thickness. So, you know, good job.
The magic. We'll make 3 pretzels, each one incrementally bigger. All right, mine are ready to go in. Okay, so the.
It's like the little joke ones we'll make for fun. It's like that small. So this part hurts. This part hurts my soul. So this is the dipping part of a pretzel. Now, a lot of people, you get if you work at any pretzel place where they can see what you're doing, you will get this question at least once in your lifetime if you're there for at least a good month or so, especially when it's busy. The number of times I've been asked, what is in there? Just water? Is astronomical. But of course, you know, a lot of people don't necessarily know what the process of making a pretzel is. Not a lot of people just make it in your free time or spare time, just like, oh, I feel like making pretzels from home, from scratch and whatnot. Not a lot of people do that. Not a lot of people watch people make pretzels. Not a lot of people know how the process goes. So when you just take pretzels and you dip it in water and take it out, people are looking like, fuck. So a lot of people don't know that water is a step to making pretzels. So yes, you take baking soda and water. They say it's a secret formula. It's really not. If you look at any recipe, it tells you to put it in baking soda and water. What that does, a lot of people ask, like, what does that do to the pretzel? Well, let me tell you. If you do not dip your pretzel in baking soda mixed with water, I mean, I don't know the exact, but if you do not dip sorry, let me go back here a second. Point is, you want to have really hot water. It should be at least around 200, 215, 200, 205. Yeah, around 200, 210 degrees. I don't know if hotter is a good thing or not. I don't know. That might be fine, but you kind of want it around there because you want the baking soda to dissolve within the water to create this kind of baking soda water mixture. If you do not dip your water in, or your pretzel in that water mixture, what will happen to the pretzel is it will still taste like a pretzel. I mean, it does add like a little bit of flavoring to it, not like a lot, but it does add at least a little bit of flavor to it, but it's not for any kind of flavor. If you don't do that, it will still cook. It just won't look like they're cooked. It helps actually brown the pretzel and make it actually look kind of like that golden brown finished look to it. If you don't, they will stay pretty much this color. They will look sickly white. They'll look barely even cooked, even though they're perfectly cooked and ready to eat. So that's why you put it in baking soda and hot water. That mixture, it helps brown the pretzel, helps actually make them look like pretzels, and it does add a little bit of flavor, though you do have to be careful with it and make sure you kind of drip the water off of it, because otherwise it will create what we call webbing on the bottom of the pretzel. If you ever seen this like kind of brownish black like webbing, like spider webbing look at the corners of your pretzels and whatnot, it's baking soda, and it's bitter as fuck, so you don't want that. You want to make sure your pretzels drip for at least a couple seconds before you put it on your tray, your Teflon, whatever the fuck you're gonna put it on, to put it in the oven. And if there's any of that left on the pretzel when it comes out of the oven, you kind of want to scrape it off, because that shit is very bitter. It's almost like pure baking soda. It's like cooked baking soda. It's gross and it does not taste good. So be careful with that. But that is why you mix it. Now, however, we'll get to that when we get there. But there's so much wrong here that it hurts my soul.
Important thing is when you have your boiling water, which is definitely boiling.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily need to be boiling, but it does need to be over 200 degrees. It needs to be hot. So boiling is probably how you're gonna get it there.
You want to have, what is in there? Okay, there's some particulates in there. All right, so you put baking soda in the water.
It's a random amount of baking soda, which can affect the flavor if you're just guessing, but yeah, it's all right.
The recipes never say how much. It's always just some baking soda. Okay, so this water's not boiling, but I don't think that matters. So I'm just gonna pop her in. I think it's supposed to float. I also think it's supposed to be boiling.
You're just crisping the bottom a little bit.
No soggy bottoms here.
No soggy bottoms.
No soggy. It's floating. It's floating. It's floating.
Ugh. There is so much wrong. There's so much that is happening here that is so wrong. Okay. So you don't want to waterlog it or boil it to the point where it floats. Literally, let me show you. I'll demonstrate. Pretend this is the baseline where right here right here under my lip is where the bowl will be that I'm dipping it into. Okay, and here I'm holding a pretzel. You see me holding a pretzel. This is how long it should be submerged. Like that. Literally, you put it in, you take it out. That's it. You do not boil a pretzel. You do not submerge it in water and wait for it to get waterlogged till it floats. You dip it in, you take it out, give it a few drips, and you put it down. It goes in once. It goes in for maybe 2 seconds, like tops, and it's done. He is boiling he's boiling dough right now. That is kind of gross, because I'm just imagining that it's gonna taste like it's a waterlogged, soggy, baked mess. And that's just kind of gross, man. That part bothers me every time. It's just like, you don't boil a pretzel. What? No.
I don't know if that's good or bad, but I mean, it's floating, so that's a sign. I'm gonna guess that's good enough. I'm gonna guess.
So
and then blap.
not only waterlogged, but waterlogged in baking soda.
That's my first dumpling.
Yeah, that might be what you do for dumplings and whatnot, but not for pretzels.
It's hot!
Yeah. Is that pot gonna be big enough for that?
So it's not. I mean, this one will have a little bit of issue with that as well, but I'm pretty sure he makes like a mega pretzel at one point, does he not? Is this the mega pretzel? I don't think so. I think it makes a bigger one, which we'll talk about that I think at some point. But this one, the appeal of a big old thick pretzel is, it's always something everyone wants to do. Usually, if we have any dough left over at the end of the day, like if we have a big thing of dough, somebody will usually take it out and try to put it into a giant fucking pretzel. It's always fun. Never actually try to bake it unless you like burnt pretzels. That'll be fine. Because or undercooked pretzels. Because the problem is the outside will cook way faster than the inside will. And so you either have to completely burn the outside to cook the inside, or have it at a normal cook temperature, and the inside will always be a undercooked doughy mess. The appeal of the giant pretzel is fun, but it usually doesn't work unless you have specific ovens big enough, heat distributed enough at the right temperature that it will cook everything slow enough. Possibly, like maybe like a pizza oven, but that's usually flat, so that makes sense when that would cook evenly. But like that specifically, it's gonna, like, just looking at it, it's gonna be a little doughy in these fat areas unless you get it cooked to where it's really dark. Not necessarily, it doesn't have to be burnt, but like it's going to be dark, which is not a bad thing. It doesn't taste bad. People think it does. People think, like, all the time, they'll be like, oh, that's burnt. It's like, have you ever seen a pretzel before? It's not burnt. I hate hearing that. I haven't actually heard that in a while, though. That makes me really happy. I haven't heard a lot of, is there any less burnt ones? Like, it's not fucking burnt. Have you ever seen a fucking pretzel that's supposed to be dark brown? You fuck. It has trauma. But yeah, parts of that, especially like right here, are unless you get it really, really cooked, are gonna be raw.
Look at this and look at that! Look at this and look at that! Is there really? What we're not gonna have enough is for all of them on this. So that's why I was like 2 per. Yeah. I won't cook this one. That's looking okay. It's still not boiling, but okay. I'm gonna say this is good. Maybe. Okay. Those are my 2 pretzels. This one lost its shape, but that's okay. See that? Dad, look at that boil. I should have waited. I'm gonna boil this big one. That's a nice looking pretzel, man.
That's not bad. These are all, like, that's fucking tiny. That's thick and fat. I mean, but for first time pretzels, these are decent. These are definitely decent looking pretzels. They should definitely be a lot thinner and a lot bigger. But like, it's decent for a first attempt for sure. Definitely for sure. That one's twisted too much. Those toes are too close together. A little bit here with that as well. You kind of want the toe to be like here and here. But you know, decent. Yeah, kind of like here. Like you separate it out. I always teach people when we're trying to get them to learn how to roll pretzels and whatnot. The toes are your toes are self-conscious. You don't want to be close together. You want to spread them out because the instinct is to put them like right next to each other for whatever fucking reason. But nope, you want to spread out. It looks a lot better that way. Yeah, those are fat boys. Those are fat boys is what I called him.
He's big. I didn't expect him to be that big.
All right, go for it. Go, go, go.
Why do I need to do mine at the same time?
Because we're out of time. Come on, stuff it in.
No, it's gonna be ruined. I'm gonna have a handicap.
Okay, fine.
Why is it still in
The
there?
recipe says 1 at a time.
This is what Ethan always does.
You don't need to. There's actually techniques. I don't know if it's. I don't know if there's any rules that you're not supposed to. Doesn't really matter. But there is technique. We'll usually dip 3 pretzels at a time. You just kind of hook one finger under the other, reach in, hook the other one, then reach in, hook the other one, dip all 3 at the same time, and doop, 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 put all 3 down. So you can. It's just you don't need to boil it. Why are you boiling a pretzel?
Is going to be used for an egg wash to make sure it crisps and browns around the edges.
The baking soda is what helps it brown around the edges. The fact that it's dough, it will naturally kind of crack and firm around the edges. You don't need an egg for that at all. So, you know, I don't think it hurts anything. I don't think it adds any weird flavor or anything. It's just, you really don't need it for any reason whatsoever. But, you know, whatever. Do what you want to do. Have fun.
I'm gonna make an egg yolk. Just do a nice egg yolk wash on top of my pretzels.
He got big. He got very big. Is this mine? Yeah.
Ooh, that's a fat
Mine
boy.
didn't puff, I think, because it wasn't boiling.
All right. I feel good about mine. I think that's the way.
Get out of the way.
They're all fat boys right there. Barely see the twist. The toes are touching each other. Those big, chunky fat boys right there. Which, I mean, it's not a big deal. It's just, again, it's hard to make it completely cook evenly throughout the pretzel. If you got these big fat boys, chances are it's going to darken on the top a lot faster than it's actually going to cook in the inside. The tops are going to get cooked way faster than the insides will. Which, if you don't mind it a little bit darker, borderline close to being burnt, but not necessarily burnt, that's fine. Otherwise, you're going to have raw pretzels. That's the only problem. Other than that, there's really no issue with it being big fat boys. Just, you know, it could be cooking issues.
Way.
You don't get to put. Oh.
Gonna need 2 hands for this one. Here we go. I'm going for it.
Toast came undone.
That's a big boy. That looks like soup. It smells like a dumpling.
Yeah, well, you know, maybe.
I mean, when you boil pretzel, it's probably going to taste and smell like a dumpling, man.
Maybe I accidentally made dumplings. What of it? Fuck you. All right. So the oven's ready, so we just pop them right in.
Nope.
We pop them right in.
Nope.
I mean, you should just pop it
gross,
right
man.
in. You really don't
Called
need
an egg wash.
I know what it is. All right. You don't even need a bowl.
But little to no color won't get the same. Yeah. It is pretty much all it does. Yeah. Like, it might give it a little bit of an eggy taste, but literally all it does is just to add, like, a sheen to it. Like, it literally, it doesn't do anything for the pretzel. All you're doing is adding egg taste to the pretzel, which you might like. That salt, though, that salt distribution, though, that's a lot of fucking salt. Now, usually you want to use thick, coarse salt, and not just, like, table salt. But I mean, you gotta use what you have. But yeah, that looked like a huge wash of salt there. That's gonna be real salty.
Excuse me. Oh.
That's so much fucking. You just obliterated that bitch with salt. You just kind of want to sprinkle it on. And also, that is, yeah, it looks like table salt. It looked kosher table salt, but table salt. That's a lot of fucking salt.
Oh gosh. And I know the final step. I know it. Watch out.
You also do not need to cut it to breathe. That should already happen by you using a roller to cut out the piece of dough. It should already give it a cut. And just the heat naturally will open parts of it occasionally. From pretzel to pretzel, it might happen, it might not. You don't need to make cuts into the dough at all. Like the dough would take care of itself and do that naturally just by stretching and rising. You don't need to cut the pretzel.
You gotta cut it so it doesn't explode.
No, that is not correct.
Okay, they're going in.
I feel like your big one should be the lower one.
I think you should shut up.
However, with that being said, with this pretzel being so big, trying to get heat inside it to try to help cook the insides, probably the best thing you could do. I don't know how much it's gonna help, how well it's gonna work for you, but like with a pretzel that big, it's probably the only option you have to actually get it to cook inside as fast as it might cook outside. But it'll probably close up at some point.
No. And now we wait.
That's what you get.
No, that's fine. Now we wait.
Now we wait. All right.
If you're supposed to start, the timer start counting.
1,
2.
So, it depends on how hot your oven is. Most bread ovens, we're looking at anywhere like 600, 650 degrees. Insanely fucking hot. I don't know if I have any scars on me at the moment, or at least visible scars. I know I do have some scars. You will get burnt if you work with a bread oven, at least period of a month or more, I warn everyone that I train right out the gate, you will get burnt. It's going to happen. At some point, you will not be paying attention. At some point, you be like, oh, I just got to get this in here. At some point, you'll be like, oh, I've done this a million times, and you won't be thinking for just a split second. It's as long as it takes to just tap something. If you just tap something on inside that, anywhere in that oven or tray that just came out, you will burn. You will have a burn mark. There's times where I've touched and literally like seared, like you had scarring across every single finger. That is the worst fucking thing in the world. Though I don't feel heat as much anymore in my fingers. But approximately 650 degree ovens. It usually only takes anywhere between 4 to 8 minutes for a pretzel to be done in a bread oven. In a non-bread oven, probably looking at 10 to 15 minutes would be my guess. So yeah. But usually you want to rotate it every 2.5 minutes, so that's cooking evenly on all sides.
It's been about, how long has it been?
11 minutes.
It's been 11 minutes. This is what we're looking at right now.
Pretty good. Mine are thick.
Wow.
I told you those were thick boys, man. I wasn't lying to you. Those are thick bitches. You can see that even before we put it in there. I knew how those were going to balloon up. Yeah, you can tell by just kind of, it's a little hard because of the blur. But you can tell right here, you can see that browning. You can tell it's getting thicker, like it's getting shelled. At least looks like a shell. Just that kind of like clean look to it that it is definitely baking. And that is almost done. I can't, usually I have to see the bottoms to really be able to tell. But just looking at the top of these, with it being bigger ones, and already being in there 11 minutes, probably should have been rotated, because that means these ones are probably going to cook faster than these ones will, which is why you can see the darker brown here, and this is much lighter here. My guess would be I'd probably give those bad boys probably another 1.5 to 3 minutes personally before checking out, pulling out, checking the bottoms.
Here's a real thing.
Wow. All right. The one up top is looking.
Yeah, as you can see right here where he didn't cut it, here at the bottom is already torn and ripped in itself. Bread's just gonna do that by itself when you bake it. It's bread. That's what it does. You don't need to cut it. It's gonna do it to itself. Trust me, I've seen it do it. So yeah, you don't need to cut your pretzels. Yeah, these ones, unfortunately, they look really close to being done, but they're gonna need longer because they're so thick, which is unfortunate.
And real fun.
Some of the bottom fell off.
Don't worry.
That looks like a pretty evenly baked pretzel, though.
I'm gonna give mine just a little. I like mine a little darker.
That smaller one looks.
You're gonna want it a little darker because it's big. Ethan's I'd honestly put back in there. Like it's so close to almost being done. It's still a little light. Again, I would have to see the bottoms to truly know how cooked it is or not, or baked it is or not. You can see it's tearing. Again, you don't need to cut it. It'll do it to itself, I promise you. It's tearing, which means it's getting close. The tearing looks cooked. But again, just because they're so big, I wouldn't risk it. I'd probably put it back in for another, depending on the oven temperature, another minute personally. But, still looking good.
Mine just a little. I like mine a little darker.
That smaller one looks really good.
No, yeah, that looks like a real pretzel. I feel like if anything's gonna drag me down.
Yeah, no, that one looks good. Again, it teared itself because it's bread. That's what it does. Yeah, no, that one looks good. That one does not look cooked yet. I'd say another minute or two. But yeah, no, that one looks done. That looks like a solid pretzel.
It'll be the fact that I didn't put mine in boiling water. But that'll be proven by my big boy.
Actually, the less time and less boil you would put on would probably be better.
If my big boy comes out big good, you know that it was my problem.
See, they all look pretty good,
They do.
but now it's just gonna come to the taste.
Oh yeah, that's what I call some pieces. These are our pretzels.
Except for the fact that this, you can see it from here. It has just fucking destroyed with salt. That right there, that shading, that's all salt. You fucking destroyed it with salt. But yeah, no, they relatively look done.
They are looking pretty good. I'd say from an aesthetic perspective, Tyler has definitely taken the cake on this.
Over here looks a little raw, or at least borderline raw, a little uncooked. But this side's looking right. But again, it's because they're big boys. They should have spent some more time in the oven. But
This
not
one,
bad.
those look great. There's only a little unevenness here, but like the shape, the consistency, the dough itself, it looks really nice. Yours would be a second, just because they got the uniformity. The twists aren't quite good.
I think
No. I mean, it's too big.
the toast is pretty even.
Yeah, you got
a nice
nice, and it looks plump. A little too plump.
Yes. A little bit's an understatement. Those are big bitches right there.
Mine look a mess.
Yeah.
I
They look
think,
like super twisty.
well, they don't look any different than they did when I
should
took them out of the
be
water.
too
Because
twisty.
like just soaking there, I think it's so
Yes, that is a mess. Those are touching. That's double twisted, I think. Who's this one? Look at that fucking salt. I wasn't kidding when I said that sheen, that color is salt. That's so much fucking salt all in one area. I would not bite there. But besides that, looking pretty good. Again, I would. It's really hard to tell without seeing the bottoms. It looks relatively cooked. I would give it a little bit more time, but like I could kind of see the browning on the bottom. That I know that it would probably be pretty dark on the bottom. So decently cooked. I would give it a little bit more time, but yeah, not bad. This salt blasts are just. I wouldn't eat those parts. I would eat there anywhere that's not, but.
sogged it up a bit, which is why it took a little longer. It's not quite as crisp as I. Yeah.
But if history repeats itself, the
Well,
other
it's a soft pretzel, so it should only have like a little bit of crispness to it.
one may taste the best.
That's true.
It might. I also destroyed it with salt because I didn't
Yeah, you did.
care. You can see just a stripe of salt here. Nothing really consistent about this.
Yeah,
Yours
this
are
is,
pretty
this
evenly
is
salted.
even best.
Yeah, you did. Yours has a touch of quality to it.
I will say the lighter salted side appeals to my heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's specific taste. General overall, that's close to a true pretzel.
Ooh.
Big boy.
Quite a soggy bottom on this one.
Yeah.
Everything's looking great here except for
Ooh. I mean, besides egg, obviously. Yeah, yeah, you need to put that back in.
this.
Oh no!
So now
Yeah, no. Right here you see parts of it look cooked. That's not though. Right in there you can actually see that that's not cooked yet. Other than that, yeah, you can see right there it's too soft. Even right there, it's not fully cooked yet. Even without the egg on it in there, which is gross. Yeah, like you can tell in between these cracks and stuff, it is not. It's not raw. It's not fully undercooked, but it's not cooked yet. This is gonna need to be much darker brown if you're gonna want to get this actually cooked on the inside.
Now it just looks like a pig's nose that has a cold. I think this is the yolk that spilled over and it got like sulfurized. So that's no good. But the rest of it, this is pretty crisp and kind of nice. The middle might be a little raw, but that's my mega pretzel. And also that got a better boil and I can already tell it fluffed up better
Oh, that's gross. You shouldn't boil it.
because of the boil. Anyway, I'll put this over here. That's for dessert.
First glance of ripping it open doesn't look good on the inside. I don't think that's done.
That's
that looks
flaky.
raw.
You know what? I'm gonna give him a benefit
I told you.
Get it out and go to the more done.
Like, yes, I have seen this before. I know that at least the giant pretzel was raw. I can't honestly remember. I remember Mark saying something about his tasting like bread, which, I mean, he did put butter inside the dough. None of them put butter on top of it. They just put butter inside the dough, which It's not. That's right. But yeah, also that and boiling it, turning it into more of like a dumpling, will make it taste more like bread, or like bread instead of a pretzel. So that's all I really remember. But just purely glancing at it, just from an outside perspective, not remembering the cook on each individual pretzel. Yeah, no, as I mentioned, like that part looks down. That part is borderline raw, and you're seeing what happens now.
Unlooking side.
Yeah.
It looks raw on the inside.
It. Hold on, give it again.
I'm gonna
Let
give
me
him
see
the
the
benefit of
inside.
the doubt and go to the more done-looking side.
Yeah.
It looks raw.
Yeah, like it's not raw. It's undercooked, but it's not raw. But yeah, no, that, as I mentioned, at least needed another almost like 2 minutes, if not, depending on oven temperature. If it's close to around 600 degrees, like 2 minutes. If it's like if they're going 400 or something, you probably need an extra 5 or 6 minutes. Like, yeah, it's cold. It's close, but it's still undercooked.
It is a little raw. The dough itself is salty, which is surprising.
I think it was just like too thick, which is really where it went.
And as I said earlier, that's the problem with thick pretzels, is that it won't cook all the way uniformly. It will cook the outside fast, cook the inside slow. So you have to get the outside much darker to cook the inside, which a lot of people won't like on a soft pretzel.
Off. There's also an odd aftertaste in it.
Mm-hmm. This one's good.
Which is my guess, without being able to taste it myself. My guess would be the baking soda, that it was waterlogged in. Would be my guess is what the weird aftertaste is. Or just being waterlogged in general would be my guess of what the weird aftertaste is.
That's good.
Or egg. Or oil. Any one of those could cause a weird aftertaste. All the things that shouldn't have been mixed with this pretzel.
Only a little raw in here, but
That one tastes like a pretzel. It definitely has a little bit of a crunch on the outside. So.
no soggy bottom. It's something about the ingredients is off because
Yeah.
it tastes a little off. If I got this from a store, I'd be like, man, their pretzels are off today.
Or it could have been the fact that he took the pretzel and mopped up oil with it. That would probably be my guess. It's gross, man.
But I'd still eat it because I paid for it.
Yeah.
If I didn't pay for it, I'm not a fan.
Honestly, that's not bad.
No,
Not
not bad.
Yeah, good first attempt.
Alright, it's definitely crispy on the bottom. You got a nice crisp there.
Maybe too crisp.
Can't see the dough close enough. It looks like it's done, but
It's a little bland.
I don't know what it is, but it's got a weird flavor. At least mine does.
I think what it is, too much water and flour, so I really diluted it out.
And the bottom.
yeah, and they rolled all their dough back into flour. It's a flour-based dough with flour covering the outside. That also could cause a very weird aftertaste.
Bottom is definitely hard.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's burnt hard. You want to take your other one?
There's no way it's burnt. There's absolutely no way that it's burnt. If anything, that would be the bitterness of the, again, waterlogged baking soda that they're probably tasting. Because there's no way it's this color and it's burnt unless they were cooking at like 300, 400 degrees. In which case, then the bottoms would probably cook a lot faster than the tops would, because well, I think connections have on both sides. But yeah, which is possible. I don't know what temperature they have the oven at. But I seriously doubt that the bottom's burnt. I imagine it's just the baking soda that they waterlogged it in.
If you want. It's cooked.
Yeah, no, that's not burnt. No, sorry, I just got flashed there. That's not burnt. That's not burnt at all.
It's burnt hard. You want to take your other one?
Yeah, try it if you want.
You know, that's not burnt. That's not burnt at all.
It's cooked. Which is what I like.
It is. It's definitely cooked through.
I think you have the same issue on this one. I think the bottom's a little too cooked.
Yeah. Probably just because it's
It's not. I think it's just the baking soda.
soggy and sat down, really baked it hard. Okay, now Visually appealing. I'm looking forward to this because it looks good. It looks cooked.
Ooh,
It's a bit tough, but the toughness isn't good. That tastes exactly like a pretzel.
it does.
That is a pretzel.
Honestly, try the parts that are twisted, because those I think ended up coming out at the exact right consistency.
That's good. Honestly, this is a good pretzel. I've got no flaws with that. That's well done. It looks good. The twist is good. It's very consistent. The bake is good. That's good. If it wasn't for this,
Yeah, the crispy.
That's about right, actually. That's what a pretzel should look like. It's not actually that crispy and whatnot, but I think the little bit of the extra thickness that you can hear from it, I think, is just the fact that it's at-home baked pretzel and not baked in a bread oven. It's going to kind of cook the outside faster than the inside, but that's not burnt. That's how a pretzel should look.
which I think was just because maybe the pan we used was wrong because we all had this. That's a great pretzel.
Very good, very good.
Yeah, well done. Amy, you want to try this? Here. I actually like the crispier bits more.
That's good.
This is good.
Yeah.
That's really good.
I am pleasantly surprised.
Well done, man.
Thank you.
I'd rank mine the worst. Yours second. If it was cooked better, that'd be much better. And that first place by far.
Yeah.
Honestly, I wonder if your fridge method was better.
No.
Like, cause we proved.
But it probably it says this is a little tougher. It's probably because he didn't fuck with it. He just left it alone after he mixed it. Helps. I don't know the durations of which they put all of theirs into the water. I don't know if it was the same time. I don't know if they all waited for them to float or something. But that could have something to do with it. I don't know.
Ours, how you're supposed to, but like even though you didn't, it's still like flaky and.
I'm honestly very.
Oh, he didn't. Wait, did he not? Sorry, give me that again.
How you're supposed to, but like even though you didn't, it's still like flaky.
Yeah.
Honestly, I wonder if your fridge method was better. Like, cause we proved ours, how you're supposed to, but like even though you didn't, it's still like flaky and.
I'm honestly.
And that might be it. If he didn't put his in the refrigerator and they did, his probably actually rose more than theirs did. So that could do it. That will add more flavor. A lot of the flavor comes in the yeast doing what yeast does and making it rise. The more it rises, the more flavor it has to it. So if he did not put his in the fridge, chances are his rose more than theirs did, and that's probably why it has more taste to it and tastes more like a pretzel.
Very surprised that we all got something that looks like a pretzel because none of us measured anything.
Alright, so this is a boiled version of mine.
I don't want to go towards that side.
Yeah, it's probably not cooked in the center.
No.
I would imagine.
Oh God, no. No dough should ever peel apart like that. That was like wet.
Yeah,
It's
that's
a little
right.
underdone.
Oh, it should never ununiformly break apart like that. You should have to pull it apart. You shouldn't be moving it and just disintegrates like that. Ew.
It smells like a pretzel.
It doesn't.
It has an interesting. It has an interesting scent to it.
Yeah, that pretzel
Water.
smell that I smelled is gone now. I think it was just residual waft from yours, and now I'm getting like that snot. It just doesn't
I mean, mega pretzel's fun. It's just that's so undercooked.
feel appealing. This is too much like bread.
Yeah.
I think I made bread. Anyway, that is pretzel. To recap, Tyler, if that was in any store, I would not question it in any way. That is a good pretzel. Yours was not bad. Mine was just bad. But that's because I made bread instead and also put oil in it. And I did a lot of things wrong.
Yes, you put oil in it. I don't know why. You also tried to put an egg in it. I'm glad you did not.
In this one, but
I feel like Ethan's would have been better if he hadn't gone as thick.
yeah, maybe.
Given the time
No, yeah, it actually would have been really good if you would have cooked it more, just not made giant fat boys.
constraint that we had, though, I think we all did pretty good.
Yeah.
How long is it supposed to set for or proof for?
An hour.
An hour? We did like 15 minutes
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they all had very under-risen doughs, as I mentioned. And they also put it in the fridge to proof it, which also did them no favors. So yeah, surprise. With that in mind, the fact that they got the flavors that they did is a miracle.
Maybe.
But thank you guys so much for joining me. And if you want to try pretzels at home, it's not that hard, but follow what Tyler was doing and not what we were doing.
Or follow a recipe.
Yeah, like, no, don't do that. That's actually stupid because it stifles innovation and it stifles critical thinking and it stifles independence. And you want, like, it's like a parent. You want to let your kid run around in the woods. Like, just do it. Let him eat dirt. Let him eat worms. That's what I did as a kid.
That's what I did.
We turned out great. Of the three of us, the most well-developed of the three of us are us two. You can see that, obviously.
Well, I developed well developed.
Yeah.
Well developed.
Yeah, sure thing. Okay, yeah. But yeah, no, this is great. Thank you everybody so much for watching. If you've got other ideas for mix videos, write them down in the comments below. We'll do a whole bunch more in the future. And check out Ethan's channel at Crank Game Plays, or at Crank Game on YouTube. YouTube.com/crankgame.
It redirects, so just do crank gameplays.
Crank Game Plays. And twitch.tv/apocalypto_12 over here. Thank you guys so much. And as always, we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. This is not bad.
I'm pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
I hate the fact that Tyler beat me. He never beats me ever at anything. And I kind of want to kill myself just to get out of the world where Tyler is better than me at making pretzels.
Well, that was fun. I hope you all learned something out there if you want to make your own pretzels. I honestly couldn't tell you the recipe which to make said pretzels, and knowing whether it's cooked or not is really like I could tell you exactly why if I was there, but like there's no like magic recipe. It should be brown. It should not be white, beigeish, light brown. It should be a uniform kind of dark, near gold like brown. That's all I can really give you. But yeah, if you're following the steps and you're like, oh, I just want to make it, don't use oil, don't use egg, don't boil it. You put it in there for seconds, not boiling, let it raise. And try not to make them too thick. I know it's hard the first time doing it. You don't know how much dough to use. It's a very exact measurement to know the right amount of dough to use. If I had dough at home, or felt like making dough at home, had any method to make dough at home, I would show you, but I don't. So, yeah, pretty much if you just follow those steps, you'll make fine pretzels. Again, I understand the fact that they were just flying by the seat of their pants with no recipe. That's the whole point in any of these makes and whatnot, is to do it blind and whatnot, which is fun, which is really fun to do. It's just as someone who makes pretzels, who's been making pretzels for years, it hurts my soul to see them pouring oil in and on and not proofing slowly, and just rolling it out, treating it like it's pie crust, and putting it in flour, boiling it for who knows how long. Just all that stuff just hurts my soul. It's just like there's so much wrong happening here, but going by the seat of their pants, they in the end they all made something that looked and resembled a pretzel, even though only one of them actually tasted as such, and it's for the reasons I listed. So gotta get handed to them. They went in blind and they all came out with something that looked like a pretzel. So yeah, hopefully any of the tips and stuff I mentioned can help you in your own I want to make my own pretzel ways. I wish I could give you more advice on how to roll a pretzel, but I honestly have no fucking idea. I tried to slow it down and think it out, and I have no idea what my hands are doing to make a pretzel happen. It just fucking happens. It's the weirdest fucking phenomenon. If you go from not knowing how to make a pretzel to making a pretzel, and you start making tons of pretzels to where it just becomes second nature, you too will probably go through that phenomenon. It's the weirdest thing ever. And then you'll be like, oh, I get it now. I have no idea what I'm doing. It's just happening. It's fascinating. But hope y'all got something out of this. I had fun. I enjoyed this. And I will see you on whatever else I do next time.